I'm going to fall into a stereotype here, but because we're all Latinas or Latinos, please allow me, but you know, we're Latinas, we like to look good, right? We like to dress. So what would happen if we created a huge pile of all of our clothes and shoes and accessories? Would it be as tall as the Salesforce Tower? Do you think? Yeah? Well, what would happen if we had fewer, better things? That's the fashion brand of our next speaker. Cuyana are her handbags, and if you haven't heard the name, they have been used by Meghan Markle, the princess from California originally, by Jessica Alba. So it means to love, and it's really a thing of beauty. So she came straight from Ecuador, and I would like you to meet Karla Gallardo, the co-founder of Cuyana. Mucho gusto, Karla, por favor, siéntate. I love your handbags. They're so beautiful, yeah. And I just love that the name means to love. How did you come up with that name?
Well, through the premise of building a brand that is all about creating a consumer mindset that it's built on a philosophy of intention. And so to love really means love what you buy, it means love what we make, and it honors our first craftsmen who are Ecuadorian, who make our hats, who weave them, and they speak Quechua. And so Cuyana is a word in Quechua that means.
I love it. Beautiful, beautiful. So I read a little bit about you, and I see that you come from a family of female pioneers, and I love that because, like Kathy said, we're opening a trail for our daughters and granddaughters, and you are the product of that trail. Tell me a little bit about your family and how you got here.
Yeah, I don't know where you got that from, but I actually am the first generation to start a business, and that was the hard part about getting started and getting the support of my family to do that. I'm one of the very few lucky people from Ecuador that get to leave and study in a college that's an Ivy League college, and I felt I had a lot of responsibility to keep up with the doors that had opened for me, and that I felt privileged, but I felt that I had this responsibility, and so letting go of that was something that was really hard to do, and I felt I was letting down my family who had worked so hard to do that for me. My grandmother, actually, she, when her mom died, she was pulled out of school when she was 10 to work in a store selling food. And so she didn't get a chance to go to college and or even to high school. And my dad was the only one of his brothers to do a college degree and then do his master's. But then he followed into doing finance, and so I kind of was following his path.
Yeah, and I think that is so beautiful, and that's where I got it from, because we can't say we're the first Latinas in tech or the first ones to go to college, but I know from my perspective, my grandmother was not allowed to go to school.
Yeah.
And when it came to my mother's turn to go to school, and my grandfather said no, she said yes, she's going to.
Yeah.
And that was the first time she opposed him, right? So now we are here, and I think we all have similar stories. So I love that. A lot of women here might be thinking, how did you get to start your own business? How do you go from having a great idea to actually executing it, and what are some of the challenges?
Oh my gosh, it took 8 years. I was not the type that just lets it all go and starts from scratch. I had the idea about Cuyana when I moved to the US, and I was just astonished by seeing how consumers buy here. In Ecuador we had when I was a kid we had 2 malls, and they were tiny, and I would make my clothes with a seamstress, and we didn't have access to, most of the things that the consumer has access to here, and then the quantities and volumes. And I saw Thanksgiving sales for the first time, and people sleeping outside of Macy's in tents to go in and buy the products at low prices, and I thought that was crazy. But then one day I bought it without thinking, and I was so ashamed. And my father had given me a credit card to be able to buy whatever I needed for college, and I had always been very mindful of that, very careful of spending on his credit card. And I had a job in college. I was like washing dishes and doing all sorts of things to pay for what I would buy. But I got a call from my dad one morning, and he said, "Karla Gabriela." And when I was Yeah,
things.
exactly. I was like, oh God, what did I do? And he's like, I got the credit card bill. What the heck did you buy? And I'm like, oh my God. And I couldn't really say anything because it's not like I didn't love anything I bought. It was just on sale and I just bought things. And that's when I realized, like, this is just wrong. And why are people buying like this here? And they have money and they could just be making so much better choices. And then I also was really upset about the fact that the Panama hat is called Panama hat here when it's really an Ecuadorian hat. And the name is sombrero de paja toquilla and it's not made in Panama. And everybody thought that it's a Panamanian hat. And I don't know, everybody all of a sudden was wearing that hat as a fashion statement. And it's an Ecuadorian hat. And by the way, that was our first product at Cuyana, and I had to make the choice of calling it Panama hat. But I did it because people were searching for Panama hats. And so my goal is they'll get to my page and then I'm going to tell them where it's made and clarify that this is not a Panamanian hat. Otherwise they're never going to find it. And I'm like, sombrero de paja toquilla. Nobody really searched for that here. But yeah, sorry, I went in circles.
I love it because I think, so many people have great ideas. It is such a feat to transform it into reality. And now your handbags are used by Meghan Markle, Jessica Alba. How do you feel seeing that?
Oh my gosh, it's like pinch me kind of moments all the time. And it was such an honor when we saw that that Meghan Markle wore a bag a couple of weeks ago. We worked so hard for it. I mean, I'm not from the fashion industry. I had zero friends from the fashion industry. I'm this Ecuadorian girl that, made her way through college. I worked super, super hard along the way. Like, I think that's one of the things I've never stopped doing and being loyal to everybody that helps me along the way. And it's amazing how, through time, all of those people are there to help in different ways. But getting to this place is really, really awesome. But I feel I'm not done. And I think that's my personality. I don't think it's a success story yet. There's so much more to do. And Cuyana is not only about building, a big company that makes a lot of money, and we really are impacting the way that consumers think, the way that they buy, the way that products are made around the world, paying respect back to those people who make the products, and just connecting people more to the origins of where materials and people come from.
Exactly, and that's probably why your handbag was chosen to be worn. It's a statement, right? It's conveying that message.
Yeah, I think I think she was one of the reasons why she wore that.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. I would like to open up to the audience for any questions. You want to ask a question? Maybe you're thinking of starting your own business. You want some advice, so please feel free to walk up to the microphone. Every question is a great question. So we have a brave Latina coming up to the microphone here to ask the first question.
Hi, well, it's so nice to meet you. I kind of went through my own little startup and it totally failed. But I thought, it was a learning experience. I'm just curious as to how you started. Were you working in a different industry? Did you leave your job? When was that point where like, okay, I'm going to do this full time?
Yeah, actually that's what you asked when I went in circles. Sorry. It's a good question. And what I was trying to say is I didn't just leave my job and got started. I was really scared to do that. And so I wanted to kind of take it step by step. And if that step failed, I could kind of go back to the previous one as opposed to just quitting and starting from scratch. So I was working at Goldman Sachs. I had a really good job in banking, and I quit once I got into business school. So for me, my first step was let me go and figure out what I need to do to get started. I have no idea how to build a business. I have an idea. And we read a lot of stories in the news of students or very young people without a lot of skill set building, amazing big companies. And I just didn't think that that's what happened or the outcome for everybody. So I formed my skill set in school, and I also built a small network there that was the basis of Cuyana. That I knew was going to be the network I would reach out to for fundraising and then for just help, because I'd never worked in an industry that made product before. After that, I finished, but everything that was in my brain was like a textbook, right? It was like theory, and I hadn't really applied it. I've never managed a person before, and so I wanted to go and work somewhere where I could learn what I could practice what I learned. And there was this job at Apple that was basically helping the head of the online store manage the business. And it was kind of a step back because I had just gotten an MBA and I should be looking for a job that was, bigger than that. But that would give me the access I needed to understand how somebody that really knows how to run a business does it. And so I made that choice, and for a year I worked for her and really learned as much as I could about the metrics that you look at when you build a business online, and how to manage people and how people communicate and how does she report up to her boss, kind of all of those dynamics. And after that, I felt I was ready and I was bored, and so that's when I felt it, That's when I was like, okay, I can do this. And I left and got started with Cuyana.
Thank you. Any words of wisdom for those who want to start their own business?
I would say that, I know you talked about what our gift of Latinas, and I want to underline that, because I think what's gotten me through is this fearless work ethic, which is just, we will work so hard. I mean, I can't even tell you, I just won't stop. And I think you don't see that a lot nowadays, like that sense of just strong work ethic. The second thing is just the warmth that we have and our ability to connect with people, because you're not going to do this alone. You need to meet people along the way who are going to help you, who are going to introduce you, and you never know what that one interaction will lead to. Sometimes, and me and my co-founder look back, and sometimes we met somebody that we really wanted to meet like 3 years ago, and then 3 years later, it evolves into something. She reaches back out, or maybe they answer to our emails, I don't know. But just use that warmth to really connect, and you never know what those relationships are going to take you to, but you have to form a network. It's all about an authentic network, and that's kind of the last part I wanted to say. It's not about just going to networking events and meeting people and asking for favors. You have to be able to give back as well to those people, because you can't just ask for things. Make your way through charm. I think being a woman is actually the best tool ever. I never saw it as a disadvantage. We have so much advantage with that. We have our charm, and yeah.
You do business with a smile on your face. Yeah. So that's the best way. We have 1 minute left. I see 3 people lining up for questions. I'm going to take one question, then I'll have the 2 of you maybe ask a question of our next panel. So go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and super excited to have you here. I love your company.
Oh, thank you.
Would love to know more about finances and money side of things. I think it's something that we don't really talk about as often, and taking a step back, when you started the company, did you fund it yourself? How was your, did you do any fundraising? How was that?
Yeah, I bootstrapped until I had enough to go and talk to people, and by bootstrapping, I got a loan for $20,000 and bought a collection of hats and sold those hats, and then with that money bought more hats, and I really took the business model down to a very simplistic version of it, and had no ego in selling in literally fairs with a tent and going around knocking doors and trying to prove traction, which was the traction that I needed for my own business, and little by little getting there. It wasn't a success story that I raised funding and then my sales were $1 million within a year. No, for a year and a half, I took 20,000, made it into a little more, and then went out to share a concept. And when you start sharing your concept, it is really, really difficult. You're going to get no's all the time. You're going to go back and question what you're doing. People are going to try to convince you to do it differently. And I think you do have to have a point of view. You should listen to feedback, because in fact, when we pitched Cuyana, we considered a lot of things that makes you think harder about what you're doing. But you have to prepare to. It's like you're going into battle, and you have to prepare to have your self-esteem go really low, and then you have to get yourself back up for the next meeting, and you have to do it over and over again, and you have to find those investors. That's my tip, that on their personal lives, their personal interests kind of match to your business, so they, number one, have an interest to listen more and might take the meeting, but number two, will spend a little more time with you than just say no, because when they're meeting with you, they're trying to find the reasons to say no to you. But there's a personal interest in your business, and that's what can help you. And I can say that for us, we were pitching to a lot of men investors at the beginning who had no idea what the power of brand is. And back then, investors were not investing in brands, and there were direct-to-consumer businesses. And in Silicon Valley, investing in inventory holding businesses was a no-no. And and that was we were
Thank you.
sorry, but anyway, we switched to women,
Yeah,
and
thank
that's when it worked.
Thank you so much for your question. I have one more question. I'm going to give you, okay, no questions? All right, perfect. Any more questions? I think Karla would be available
Yeah,
at the side of the stage. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to meet